Jeepers Creepers, the hit 2001 horror movie, had audiences captivated with the simple story of a brother-sister duo, on a road trip, who happened to cross paths with a bloodthirsty maniac, known as the Creeper. While it's a thrilling feature, fans may be surprised to learn that the story itself might not be completely rooted in fantasy. Ray and Marie Thornton were out for a relaxing Sunday drive on April 15, 1990. Not knowing, it would be far from relaxing. As Ray drove, he saw a large brown van approaching in the rear-view mirror. The van sped past him in the wrong lane and continued down the road. They noticed that its license plate began with GZ, but did not pay much attention until a few minutes later. 2 or 3 miles later, Ray and Marie passed an old abandoned schoolhouse, when they saw a man, carrying a red-stained sheet, behind the school. His vehicle was parked nearby. Thinking something was odd, they decided to go home, with plans to call in the license plate number, when Ray again saw the van approaching in his rearview mirror. Instead of immediately passing, the driver tailgated dangerously close for several minutes before the van blazed around their car and sped down the road. They would see the van one last time. It was pulled off on the side of the road with the passenger side door open. The driver was knelt down behind the vehicle, changing the license plate. As they peered into the open door, they recognized immediately that there was blood inside the van. 5 hours before the Thorntons first spotted the suspicious van, Dennis DePue arrived at the home of his ex-wife, Marilynn, to pick up his teenage children for a court-appointed visit. The pair had been married for 17 years before separating. Dennis worked as an appraiser for the state, and Marilynn was a high school guidance counselor. There was great tension in the marriage. He became withdrawn, and accused her of turning their children against him. She often told friends that she was unhappy and wanted a divorce, as he was controlling, demanding, and he didn't like Marilynn being active within the community. Finally, in 1989, after 18 years of marriage, Marilynn filed for divorce. She told her attorney that Dennis was trying to ruin her life, and would not let her make decisions on her own. He tried everything to keep the marriage intact. However, the divorce was finalized in December of 1989. He would be granted bi-weekly visitation rights, but his children were often reluctant to spend time with him. On Easter Sunday, April 15, 1990, Dennis arrived at the home to pick up his children. Their younger daughter had already refused to go with him. When he went inside the home, his son also refused to go. When Marilynn tried to talk to him about it, he became angry and started yelling at her. He then pushed her down the stairs. At the bottom, he continued to beat her, even after their children pleaded with him to stop. Dennis then carried a seriously injured Marilynn back up the stairs. He told their children that he was taking her to the hospital. And he carried her to the passenger side of his van. Unknowing, it would be the last time they saw their mother alive. 4 hours after he left with Marilynn, when they didn't hear back from Dennis, one of their daughters called the police, to report the assault and the planned hospital trip. An officer checked with the local hospital, but there was no record that the DePues had been there that day. An immediate and widespread search began for them. Meanwhile, the Thorntons contacted the police, and learned that the man they had seen was Dennis. Following their tip, police found that the tire tracks at the school belonged to Dennis's van, and the blood on the sheet was Marilynn's. Based on the evidence, it appeared that he had killed her. However, it wasn't until the next day that this was confirmed, when highway workers discovered her body near a deserted road in Bethel Township. The school counselor died from a single gunshot wound to the back of her head. 2 weeks after the murder, the school where Marilynn worked received a letter written by Dennis. In it, he blamed the divorce and her death on the people at the school. It would be about 9 months after the incident. Dennis had settled in Dallas, Texas, under a fake name and was living with a new girlfriend. When sometime in March of 1991, after the episode featuring Marilynn DePue's murder, and the subsequent search for Dennis DePue, aired on Unsolved Mysteries, Dennis panicked and fled the safety of his hideout, which had protected him for 11 months. He told his girlfriend that his mother was sick and he had to leave urgently. Later, one of her friends who watched the Unsolved Mysteries episode, told her about it. She believes that he was watching the show, and was deliberately keeping her distracted in the kitchen, so that she would not see it and that he could leave. Her friend called the telecenter, and provided authorities with a Texas license plate number for the van. 4 hours later, when Louisiana state troopers spotted the van, and attempted to pull it over. He led police on a 15-mile, high-speed chase, and broke through 2 police barricades. Warren County, Mississippi sheriff, told his deputies that if the van refused to stop, they should shoot out its front tires. They missed the front ones, but got both back ones. Dennis traveled about a half-mile before his van came to a stop. At around 4 a.m., after firing 2 shots through his windshield at deputies, and another through an open window, he turned his gun on himself, and took his own life. Ultimately, Dennis died without ever having to face justice. Because of his selfish actions, 3 children were left with no mother, no father, and no answers. Marilynn was a wife, mother, daughter and friend. She worked at the local high school, and was well respected and beloved among her peers and students. Her loss was felt throughout the community.